Hello, Nathan. How do you read me?
I'm able to hear you and see you just fine.
Fantastic. I'm gonna go on mute and dim my camera until the rest of the council gets back.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Turning right up. Right.
Well, like they're coming off of, well, the ones that are.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, you'll see,
See if they,
visibility.
Yeah, it is.
is Dave online? He is. Okay. Just want to make sure he's there.
Mayor,
There he is.
Yes.
RPV
Sorry.
TV, are we good to go? Yes, thank you. Madam Clerk, are you ready?
yes. All set.
Thank you. Let's start the meeting at 7:20 today. It's our regular meeting. Kind of call the meeting to order. Can I have roll call, please?
Certainly, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ferraro, Councilmember Lewis,
Here.
Councilmember Peristam,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Seo,
Here.
Mayor Bradley.
Here
We have a
or
quorum.
there, depending on how you look at it.
We have a quorum. Our next item then is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Could I to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Place your right hand over your heart and begin.
To the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item, please.
Our next item is the closed session report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, and ladies and gentlemen. With apologies for our late start tonight, we had extensive discussions in closed sessions. In closed sessions, some of which are reportable actions, others of which are not, and I will report as follows. With respect to labor negotiations, the City Council met in closed session per Government Code Section 54957.6. There was a privileged and confidential briefing. The city has reached tentative agreement with the Rancho Palos Verdes Employees Association. That agreement will be reduced to a memorandum of understanding and will be brought back to a future city council meeting for public review, consideration, and action. The city commenced labor negotiations with AFSCME District Council 36. The city's labor negotiator, Ms. Lee, briefed the city council on proposals received by AFSCME and made a negotiating recommendation. The council unanimously authorized the city's recommended labor negotiations on a going forward basis. The city council also met to discuss labor negotiations regarding unrepresented employees involving confidential management employees, executive groups, and the city manager. There was unanimous consensus to reach agreement with respect to these items, with exception of the city manager, and with the exception of the city manager, the mayor voted nay. And these items will come back at a future council meeting for formal action and approval. The city council also met in closed session to engage in labor negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 with respect to the law firm of Winder. Again, the parties have reached agreement in principle. A contract amendment will be brought back at a future council meeting for public review action. We briefed the city council pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9C and D1 regarding one matter of pending litigation to which the city is a party. The title of that litigation is Community of Abalone Cove versus the City of Rancho Palos Verdes. Los Angeles County Superior Court Case Number 24, TRCP 300352. We provided the council with a privileged and confidential brief and a recommended litigation strategy. This will implemented on a going forward basis, but does not involve reportable action. Finally, the city council met in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9E because the city is considering whether to initiate litigation in time only allowed us to talk about one of those three cases. That is the possible code enforcement action against the Community Christian Church. The city office provided a briefing. City council gave us direction to reach out to the church one last time in an effort to avoid litigation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Moving on to mayor's announcements. I just want to say good evening to everyone. Thank you for being patient. We had a long closed session today and we had a lot to discuss. But this is the best part of our job up here, recognizing community groups. So we have 3 groups tonight. The first group that we'd like to recognize is Community Helpline. Where's Kathy? Where's Catherine? Hi, Catherine. How are you? I just wanted to spotlight her and her group and the Community Helpline and what a wonderful job that they're doing. But I'm just going to read this passage really quick before we have you come up and present to you, okay? And then we'll give you some time to speak. Sound good? Thank you. All right, and on the certificate of recognition, it says the mayor and the city council of City Rancho Palos Verdes take great pleasure in honoring Community Helpline. In recognition of your outstanding dedication and contribution to advancing mental health awareness, advocacy, and compassionate care, since your founding in 1971, Community Helpline has made an unwavering commitment to create a meaningful impact on the lives of individuals and communities alike. You fostered an environment for emotional well-being, advocating for mental health awareness, and delivering compassionate care. Your commitment to the community is an inspiration to us all, and our deepest appreciation is extended to you with the presentation of the Certificate of Recognition on May 20th, 2025. Please come up.
Thank you so much for recognizing Community Helpline. We really appreciate it.
Go, guys.
Sorry.
Nice. That way you can talk to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll hold that.
Okay, great. Okay. Jeez. So, would you like me to tell you about Community Helpline? Is that the best? Okay, so, right. So Community Helpline, we're a crisis and support hotline. And we started actually on the Hill in 1971. There's been a lot of things that are going on between now and 1971 that I'm don't know about, but I joined Community Helpline in 2014 and as a volunteer listener. And in 2018, we had all of our funding pulled from us. So myself and a few other people rallied together and realized how important it was for a crisis to keep this crisis and support hotline going. Community, but we actually, for the state of California, we service, take calls from all over. And so we got our own 501c3 and kind of been carrying Community Helpline on our backs since then. So I guess that's, I don't know how many years we're talking now, about 7 years. And so, yeah, now we're kind of reaching out to the community again and asking for support and
She made a whole speech.
I know, I don't know if yeah. We have a fundraiser coming up on May 31st, and it's a community fun run and fair, and we're going to have it at the Peninsula High School from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. We would love everyone to join us for that and get involved. again, it's just really to bring awareness for mental health and also just to kind of get the community together and share what we do and, you know, hopefully inspire you to join us and support us and help us out. So thank you. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, thank you. All right. Thanks, you.
That is a great picture. There's only one thing missing.
We saved the picture without having. Thank you. Ken.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, you want to stay up here?
Okay.
All
All right, choose the next one.
right. So the next group that we have are our students that we have on the peninsula here, and I have a couple certificates of congratulations. So if we could please have Veronica Chen, Jaden Song, Jaden Kim, Arna Vera, please up to the front. Come on up, guys. So these students entered in the 2025 Pageant of the Arts competition and were honorable mentions. So the certificates read, congratulations on winning an honorable mention by the Palos Verdes Peninsula Rotary Club. Your dedication to your art installation shows what an outstanding student you are and your passion for the arts. The city of Rancho Palos Verdes officially recognizes your accomplishments with the presentation of these certificates. Also, tonight or this evening, we'd also like to mention two students who weren't able to attend due to their prior commitments. I think it's Rise Oda, who received third place with his routine for the 2025 Pageant of the Arts competition, and Hannah Sheriff, who received first place with their dance routine for the 2025 Pageant of the Arts competition. Can we please give them a hand? You have one. You want to say something? You sure? You sure? Don't be shy.
I think we need to know what your performance was. I think some of you perform musical instruments.
You guys want to describe what they were?
Yeah. So me and Jaden here, he's from Penn, I'm from PV, and we did a Danta performance, which is actually Korean drumming, and it's basically where yeah, so it's a Korean cultural drumming, and it originated in Korea, and it represents like the human heartbeat and really like love and how and yeah, well and it was mainly performed in history for nobles and for musical performances. And well, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Oh, so yeah, I also do Nanta. It's a great instrument. I just want to, we want to thank you for like inviting us to this meeting, and we're very honored to be here. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a senior from Peninsula High, and I'm happy to be here and happy that my work is recognized. It is about a process from self-desires to self-discipline. Is a statue.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arna Vera. I'm a senior at Peninsula High School. I just wanted to say thank you so much for like the Rotary Club for letting us all like share our passions with, you know, the community there at Nickelodeon and etc. And I sang Rise Up by Andra Day and played piano along with it. And just a little reason why I picked the song was just because of kind of like everything that we've been through this year as like a community and like a state. And I just really thought it was something uplifting to share. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Can we have the parents and family members come up here? Let's take a picture together. Don't be shy. Come on up. Come on up. Don't be shy, guys. Come on.
I think we're gonna have to invite them back to perform one of these.
I know.
nights. I saw some of the videos of your performances and it was very impressive.
Right on count 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
One more. All right. So good evening, everyone. Once again, tonight we are honored to recognize the third group, which is a dedicated group of citizens, scientists, and volunteers from the American Cetacean Society, not crustacean, cetacean. Los Angeles chapter for their 40 years of service. 40 years. These volunteers have been conducting the gray whale census on the back patio of Point Vicente Interpretive Center since 1985. The gray whale census operates 7 days a week from December through May during daylight hours, and these volunteers observe and document gray whale migration patterns, as well as behaviors such as breaching, spy hopping, rolling courtship, and more. These individuals are more than volunteers. They're passionate educators, stewards of the ocean, and an inspiring example of civic engagement. On behalf of the City Council and the residents of Rancho Palos Verdes, we extend our sincere appreciation for their dedication, expertise, and ongoing service to our community and marine environment. Thank you for your incredible commitment and for helping us all better understand and protect the marine wildlife that surrounds us. Thank you very much, guys. And I believe we have that plaque there.
I have some citizen science after holding chair down.
Hey, come on up, guys. Come on up. Don't be shy. Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Good to meet you. Thank you so much.
Want to say a couple words? Let's get the friend. Come on, guys.
Hey, Gordon, you're passing me. Yeah, he did years and years. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you want me as first or picture? Okay. 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 Yeah, okay. Wow. These are some of our wonderful citizen scientists. It takes a team. We are the people who count. We actually started at Marineland in 1984. In 1985, we started a separate but commingling census at Point Vicente and compared the counts and been there ever since with a several-year delay. Went over to the Coast Guard when the interpretive center was down, and it is a fabulous spot if you haven't been there. How many people have been there? It's absolutely incredible. We get whales right up. Today we're watching breaching humpback whales. It was fabulous. We've had incredible years in which we have had over 100 gray whales in a day. We've had not so incredible years like this year, which is the lowest counts in 40 years. It's really important, this baseline science. The government runs accounts with NOAA, but with funding cut, we don't know if that's going to be able to continue in the future. So we may be the last folks standing and have an opportunity to do baseline research as well as educate the public to contribute to conservation and see at least 20 different species of cetaceans. It's been a fabulous journey and looking forward to doing at least 40 more years. Thank you so much. Okay.
So, you got good?
Okay.
We talked about.
Okay.
All right. Right. Moving on to our next item, which is our affirmation to approve the recycle and emergency personal preparedness kit drawing winners. We have two winners today. It's Harriet Hart as well as David Alexander. Can I get a motion to approve since Mayor Bradley is not present with us?
Second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Peristam, Mayor Pro Tem Seo,
Yes.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to our approval of the agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Also move.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Yield to the mayor.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Peristam,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seo,
Yes.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to our public comments for non-agenda items. And I do have two requests to speak. Our first speaker is here in chambers, Eva Albuja.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Seo, Mayor
Hold on, Eva.
Bradley.
Can you pull that mic towards you?
Is it on?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Seo, Mayor Bradley, City Council, city staff, Eva Buha, many of you know me. I have lived in the neighborhood since 1978. I attended Ladera Linda, went through all the schools, graduated in 1989. This message is really directed to the last meeting of George's statement that we got to stop funding the landslide. Okay, Councilmember George, I invite you to go take a walk with me through PB Drive South, through the Seaview District. I have two homes, my mom and my dad who's retired, living in Cinnamon Lane. Their whole neighborhood is like a bomb that's gone through. My house barely survived, and I'm still here leading the way for it to survive. And I'm bringing attention of PB Drive South right now. PB Drive South is the artery for the west side. It does carry the sewer system for 39,000 residents, okay, plus. I pulled that from the records, and I share with you information that I wish you will read in the history of the landslide, because I have endured it since 1978. And the wells did work back then, and they were abandoned, okay? And we have put them back in, and thankfully, everybody here has helped support that and has helped bring Seaview back to almost zero in movement. And I applaud everybody for leading the way, listening, supporting, and I know the city is broke. I know they're suffering because not receiving state funds. And we as a community need to have that shared throughout the whole Rancho Palos Verdes. The sewer system will fail because PB Drive will fail. We have huge fissures going through PB Drive. And if that fails, our only plan B is to vacuum with trucks. That type of service is not going to work with school districts, with businesses, with Terranea. That is not a solution. And with you stating that you want to stop funding the landslide, it's not acceptable. I know everybody here is working hard, and we need to work harder with the social media broadcasting to get the whole RPV on board, asking the state to add landslides to the bill. We need more activities and events showing that we need this to pass. And we need money, and we need everyone to vocalize and do media on that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Eva.
Our next speaker is via Zoom, Krith Detheridge.
Chris, are you there?
This is Nathan. I'm currently moving them over to a panelist, so I'm waiting for that to engage right now.
Got it. Thank you, Nathan.
You're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, everyone. I just want to bring up the issue that I've noticed. I'm a recent move here to RPV. Particularly, I live in the Ganado area. I've noticed a distinct lack of speed and traffic control mechanisms within the neighborhoods themselves, which I feel is somewhat concerning considering we have a growing population of young families moving into the area. And largely with that growing population of young families, we're going to have more and more kids, not just trying to play in the neighborhood, but also commuting to school, either walking or by bike. And without the speed control mechanisms in place within the neighborhoods, I've noticed quite a few cars that just go blowing down these hills. I mean, 30 plus miles an hour in a 20, 25 miles an hour zone. I've had people pass me when driving down the neighborhood before. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous behavior, which puts a lot of kids' lives in danger. I mean, all it takes is one kid to try and wander out in the street for whatever reason, maybe cross the street. And, you know, maybe you can't really look fast enough if someone's, you know, you're coming out from behind a car and someone's traveling 45 miles an hour down a hill. You know, I can understand maybe there haven't been any accidents. I'm not aware of any in recent time, but you know, one's going to be too many. It's just going to take one kid getting killed, and then everyone's going to wish that they had done something. So that's just a major concern I've had, and it seems to be, at least on my street, I can think of one three-way stop, and that's all the traffic control mechanisms we have across like a mile stretch. So that's it.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have any more?
No
public
further
comments?
speakers, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the city manager report. Ara?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Seo, Mayor Bradley, who's participating via Zoom, and the members of the city council. First, for those folks that I asked to step into the fireside room and you're watching the movie or the council, that was a slip. You're watching the council meeting on television there. We have plenty of seats now available so you can make your way back into the council chamber. And for my presentation this evening, what I'd like to do is take this opportunity first at the beginning of my report is to showcase Point Vicente Interpretive Center and the new merchandise that we are featuring at the gift shop. And rather than me speaking, I think we've got a 90-second video that will showcase all the new merchandise that we've got at the gift shop. So Nathan, if you can cue up the video. Which, by the way, is a great video, so please enjoy it. Okay, maybe not 90 seconds. But so as you see, we're featuring all the new merchandise, and I'd like to invite Emily Rodin to come up, our Deputy Director of Recreation Parks, to just speak about the new merchandise and encourage all of our residents to go out and shop at the gift shop.
Yeah, thank you, Aria, and good evening, council. Yeah, I'm just here tonight to share about the Point Vicente Interpretive Center and the gift shop we have there. We have that nice video Megan Barnes put together for us. I want to give kudos to her. But we have lots of fun merchandise. We're open every day from 10 to 5. It's a coastal inspired Palos Verdes whale watch. As you saw, the ACS was up here earlier. We're recognizing them. So a lot of that merchandise you'll see has whales featured on it, and just Point Vicente and Palos Verdes. We have great educational books and materials about the Palos Verdes Peninsula and the history. fun toys and gifts, home decor, jewelry. So if you're looking for a gift for just that special someone, yourself, or anybody in your family, we definitely recommend coming down and checking it out. We're at the tail end of our whale watch season now. This is the last week of the ACS census, but as they mentioned, they're seeing humpback whales. So there's definitely always something to do there. We recently had a new exhibit installed a couple of months ago about the Point Vicente, the whales and dolphins seen off our coast. So come check that out. We have docents on duty that can show you around, but we're looking forward to seeing some more visitors coming in. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Nathan, if you can go to the next slide. And as he's prompting, so if I say the words people, purpose, and presence, I'm sure you will think immediately of Public Works and our Public Works staff, right? With all seriousness, this week is National Public Works Week, and the theme for this year's Public Works through the National Public Works Association is people, purpose, and presence. And in all seriousness, I want to take this moment to recognize our amazing public works staff who do so much to maintain our city, responding to disasters, responding to storms, doing all the capital improvement projects. And we've got a video, another, I think it's a 60-second video that just showcases all the things that our public works crew do. So Nathan, if you can cue up the video. And while he's doing that, just take advantage of the time here. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all the staff that make up. And right now, I mean, for years, we've been saying that our Public Works Department has been short-staffed by 70, 80%, and we are almost fully staffed. And of course, everyone in this room knows our Public Works Director, Ramsey Awad. We've got David Kopp, our Deputy Director. We've got Deanna, our new Principal Engineer that's on board. We've got Russ, another engineer. We've got Noel, who's in here as well. We've got Lorna, Vanessa Hevner, Jim Hevner's wife. We've got Jeremiah and Brandon, our associate engineers. We've got Sherry and Carissa. Anyone who has had any interaction at the front desk with Sherry and Carissa, you know they're the kindest, most respectful, most responsive folks that work at City Hall. Everyone's been great. We've got Juan and Zach in our maintenance crews, as well as Bruno and Jairo and Jennifer and Leslie. They're all amazing. During major storms, people are calling the city, and this is after hours, and we're taking these calls and we're responding and we're cleaning the gutters and making sure our streets are safe, and so people can continue to drive around. So if Nathan, if the video is ready to cue, I'm very excited to show and showcase all the projects that the Public Works Department does that hopefully the public can see and understand. And that's the crew, and I want to give them a big round of applause for everything that they do. Thank you. And Ramsey, I don't know if you want to say anything about the staff, the crew.
Yeah, I just want to note that we just have an amazing staff, and I want to particularly call out the folks that sometimes our residents only interact with our frontline staff, our front counter staff, our maintenance workers, our maintenance admin folks that answer the phones, and often residents have an issue, they may be frustrated, and I want to thank our team for doing such an excellent job of directing them to the proper place and resources to assist them. There's just so much that happens behind the scenes. Our associate engineers are entire team, principal engineers, our management, that make all the things happen that we see. And I'm just incredibly appreciative of such an outstanding team. I've worked many places, and I truly believe we have something special here with our team in the way that they're able to help our community.
Thank you. Thank you. So continuing with my presentation, Nathan, if you can go to the next slide, I'll be really brief here. I know we've got a big agenda item, but this month is May is Wildfire Awareness Month, and we've been having a series of town halls. We have one more town hall that's being hosted by Supervisor Janice Hahn. That's going to be on Thursday, May 29th at the Botanic Gardens. It's from 5:30 to 7:30. LA County Fire Department, the Forestry Division, as well as the Palos Verdes Nature Preserve, amongst other members of the community. We will be there to present information. We are in a very in a fire-prone area. We all need to be vigilant and educated and aware of what to do to our properties for home hardening. So if you have time, please stop by the Botanic Gardens on Thursday, May 29th, between 5:30 and 7:30. Next slide. So I'm really pleased to once again reiterate what our one of our honorees under the mayor's announcements earlier this evening. The community helpline, I didn't know was in existence before the city even incorporated in 1973. They've been around since 1971, and they do provide supportive services to our community. So as our recipient of the certificate mentioned earlier, there is a fundraiser on May 31st, Saturday, May 31st, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the high school. And it's at the Peninsula High School, and it's a fun, and they call it the Fair and Fun Run. It's a 5K, and it's $35 that go towards this nonprofit organization that I think is a great service provided to our community. So if you're interested, bring your family and go out to the Peninsula High School. Next slide. I think this is really important to highlight for the public, and we're doing our best to put as much information out so the public understands that LA County Public Works Department and their sanitation district and for your sewers are actually proposing to raise your rates from $50.50 per year to $96.23 by the year 2029. The last rate increase was in 2014. The LA County Public Works is going to host an open house, and that's going to be on June 11th at 6 p.m. at the library. And then the proposed rate increase will be considered by the Board of Supervisors on June 24th at 9:30 a.m. at the board hearing room. And so if you're interested, the way this works, it's called Prop 218, and you have to submit a protest letter if you have concerns regarding this rate increase. So we just want to make sure this word gets around, that residents know that this is being contemplated. Next slide. And I've been mentioning this for the last couple of months. We're going through a recruitment for their youth advisory committee. We're looking for students that are in grades 7th through 12th grade. We have 9 vacancies opening up at the end of this academic year. And so anybody knows any students, your grandkids, your child who's interested and part of the PV Unified School District, as well as the private schools here, have them submit an application. We're accepting applications through June 30th, and then the council will be making an appointment for these 9 vacancies. Next slide. And maybe perhaps after you do the internship, you know so much about the city and want to get involved that you want to actually work for the city. We are starting our summer internship program. So if you're interested and you know someone, it's not only limited to students, anyone who's interested in helping out in any of the city departments. We're accepting applications now, and the compensation is $16.50, but we've got openings in the city manager's office, in the community development departments, public works. If you want to see what public works week is all about, you can help intern there, as well as the finance department and the recreation and parks department. Applications are available online if you're interested. Next slide. And I just want to make an announcement that the summer recreation classes registration is now open. So if you're interested in enrolling for those programs, you can go to the city's website and submit your registration. Next slide. And of course, Monday is Memorial Day, and it's a time for us to remember all those that have served and protected our freedoms. And so we are all observing that holiday, and in observance, we are closed. City Hall will be closed. And it's just a gentle reminder that construction is not permitted on federal holidays. So have a great Memorial Day. Remember to put out your flags and remember those that have served. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Aura. We move on to the next item, please.
The consent calendar.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Pearstam,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seo,
Yes.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to our regular business item number 1.
Thank you. Can we get, I'm sorry.
Forgive me. Consideration of recommended traffic measures for Palos Verdes Drive East from Crest Road to Palos Verdes Drive South. Late correspondence was distributed, and I currently have 20 requests to speak.
Thank you. We can get the staff report, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. I'll be presenting the staff report this evening, but I'll also note that I have with me the city's traffic engineering consultant, Rawad Hani with GTS, to assist with answering questions. First, I'll start with providing some background. The reason we're here today goes back to November of 2023 when the HOA reached out to the city with concerns focused around the intersection of Ganado and PV Drive East. The HOA was requesting increased enforcement with concerns about speeding. And they were also requesting traffic control measures such as a traffic signal or stop signs, flashing stop signs, cyclist signs, and other traffic measures. The study the city hired GTS to conduct a traffic study, and the traffic study expanded to focus on more than just the intersection at Ganado, but also increased from Crest Road all the way down to PV Drive South. So I'll start by walking through the traffic study and then go on to the recommendations. The traffic study considered existing conditions, including existing traffic speed, sight distance, and collision data. Just some background, approximately 3,000 vehicles per day on this segment of road, quite a significant grade, as you can see, over 500 feet of elevation change in a couple of miles, and the 3 sharp turns that everyone knows as the switchbacks. The existing speed limit is 35 miles per hour in both directions from Crest to Ganado and 40 from Ganado to PV Drive South. I'm going to spend some time talking about speeds and background on speed limits because it'll be important for the coming discussion on staff recommendations. Speed limits, according to the California Vehicle Code, shall be set by an engineering and traffic survey by methods determined by the Department of Transportation. In other words, city staff or the city council may not simply elect a speed that they feel is most suitable for their community. It must actually be backed up by an engineering and traffic survey. And the methods used for that engineering and traffic survey are described in a manual called the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices. There are 3 key principles in that manual as it relates to speed limits. 1, speed limits need to depend, and I'm quoting here, on the voluntary compliance of the greater majority of motorists. 2, speed limits cannot be set arbitrarily low, as this would create violators of the majority of drivers and would not command the respect of the public. 3, speed limits are normally set near the 85th percentile speed or the prevailing speed. So to determine the 85th percentile speed or prevailing speed, there should be an analysis of the current speed distribution based on free-flowing traffic, and the speed limit should be set to the nearest 5 mile per hour increment of the 85th percentile speed. However, and this will factor into our recommendation later, that speed limit may be reduced by 5 miles per hour from the nearest 5 mile per hour increment of the 85th percentile speed. So again, the 85th percentile speed is the prevailing speed, and that means it is the speed at or below which 85 out of 100 vehicles are traveling. Most recently, the city conducted an engineering traffic survey in March 2022 citywide, and it included these two segments from PV Drive South to Ganado, as well as Ganado to Crest. The prevailing speed from PV Drive South to Ganado was found to be 42 miles per hour, just a small variation between the northbound and southbound, and the speed limit was therefore rounded down in accordance with the manual to 40 miles per hour. From Ganado to Crest, the prevailing speed was 40 miles per hour, and the speed limit was accordingly set to 40 miles per hour. As part of the traffic study, new speed data was collected to determine the current 85th percentile speed. And this was used to make a recommendation for a new speed limit. I'll note again from the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices what staff considered in the recommendation to the City Council. The manual says that the establishment of a speed limit more than 5 miles per hour below the 85th percentile should be done with great care, as studies have shown, and again I'm quoting here, that establishing a speed limit at less than 85th percentile generally results in an increase in collision rates. And we must be careful to set speed limits at the 85th percentile, because below that does not facilitate the orderly movement of traffic and requires constant enforcement to maintain compliance. However, there are factors that can cause a recommendation below the 85th percentile, and again below the rounded down 85th percentile. And generally, and again from the manual, the most decisive evidence of conditions not readily apparent to the driver surfaces in collision histories and should be considered. So to conclude the new traffic data that was collected, you see on your screen there the 85th percentiles by direction for each segment of roadway, and those will factor into the recommendation later in the presentation. Next, as part of the traffic study, the sight distance was evaluated, and the traffic study found that the sight distance is met both looking north as well as looking south. And the sight distance is basically the amount of the length of road that is needed for a vehicle to observe a potential conflict, react, and stop in time. Looking north, 330 feet are required. Looking south, 300 feet are required, and both are available. However, the traffic study noted that parked vehicles on the west side of the frontage road may block the view to the north, and that the vegetation on the landscape dividers should be kept below 30 inches, and these will factor into the forthcoming recommendations. Finally, the collision history was reviewed for the traffic study. In traffic engineering, typically it's a 3 to 5 year collision history that's reviewed to indicate recent trends. What we found is 31 collisions, but 31 collisions can be a little or a lot depending on the location. And so what we do is we convert that into a rate based on the traffic volume. And what we found is that the rate at this location is higher than expected for similar traffic, for similar roadways and volumes. I will also note that not all crashes are reported, and we do know that that is throughout the city. There are some crashes that are not reported, but we compare apples to apples, crash rates to crash rates, with the understanding that not all are reported at multiple locations.
Excuse me, could I ask one question? The 31 collisions that reported, that was over what period of time?
A 5-year period.
5-year period. Oh, yeah.
And that concludes the traffic study, and I'll move on to the recommendations. Staff recommend a speed limit of 35 miles per hour based on the rounded down 85th percentile speed. The City Council could further reduce this to 30 miles per hour based on the high collision rate, nearby university campus, and terrain. Staff recommends a 35 mile per hour, the implementation of traffic calming measures, the goal of which is to reduce speeds, and then reassessment in 1 year. The next recommendation from staff is to remove the existing landscaping in the median and replant it with slow-growing vegetation, so that we can be sure to maintain the recommended height of that vegetation. And doing this in coordination with the HOA, developing a landscape plan agreed upon by the city and the HOA to reduce the maintenance burden for the city and make sure that we have appropriate site distance. Next, staff recommend moving the stop bar from its current location further to the curb line so that any vehicles parked on the west side of the frontage road would not interfere with sight distance. And this can be done without creating a conflict, keeping it in line with the outside of the right turn lane. Staff recommend upgraded traffic signs to meet current standards, as well as the installation of speed feedback signs, which we recommend is coordinated in terms of location with the HOA to identify the most suitable locations to advise drivers, as well as reduce any potential impacts on nearby homes. And additionally, supplemental curve warning signs as needed. Staff also recommend wider edge lines, which have been shown to reduce collision rates, 6-inch edge lines in this case. And the restriping of PV Drive East to add bike lanes and from Crest Road to Vista Del Mar. And what that would do is it would separate the right turning vehicles from bicycle lanes that would continue to go through across the intersection so that the conflict doesn't occur at the intersection between a right turn vehicle and a bicyclist. Past Vista Del Mar, the lane width becomes insufficient to continue the bike lanes all the way down to PV Drive South without substantial additional construction. Finally, staff recommend increased enforcement. I'll also note that these recommendations were presented to the Traffic Safety Committee in January 2025, and the Traffic Safety Committee supported the recommendations. If approved by the City Council this evening, some of these recommendations could be implemented in the short term within Q1 of FY 25-26. Such as the installation of speed limit signs, the replacement of landscape medians, stop bar relocation, and signage upgrades. However, for the bike lanes and pavement markings, staff recommends including these in an upcoming roadway project in FY 25-26 because the slurry seal project in this area would otherwise then require the removal of these measures. And finally, staff recommend an after-action study 1 year after the implementation of the traffic calming measures and to come back to the City Council with those results for potentially further actions. And that concludes my presentation this evening.
Does the City Council have any questions at this point? Staff?
I do.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just one question at this point, and that is, how long has the current speed limit signage been in place? Because I know it's changed over the years a number of times.
Well, I can tell you that it did not change from the last engineering and traffic survey. And I will have to check when that one was done. I believe that one was done 7 years prior to March 2022.
So sometime 7 years-ish or less. It seems like it's less, just as an observation, but I'll go with the 7 years we've been in place. And the 5 years is a reflection on 7 years of having the current speed limits. Is that best we know?
So it would be approximately 3 plus 7.
3 plus 7.
A total of approximately 10 years.
10 years, okay.
And that is on the basis that the March 2022 engineering and traffic survey did not have a change for this location, and it was done approximately 7 years after the prior one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Bradley, do you have any questions? Thanks.
Sorry, trying to get off mute.
No worries.
No, I'm ready to hear the people.
If we can move on to public comments.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll announce 3 speakers just so that you each know at least the order that's coming. Our first speaker is Delicia DeFolk, followed by Marty Redfield, and then Craig Whited. So our first speaker, Delicia Folk.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I know there's 20 speakers, correct, Madam Clerk? So I want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about what you guys came for, but 20 speakers is basically be a lot in terms of time. So if you hear the topic or the point that you made previously from a speaker, please try to keep it as short as possible. That way we can just respect everybody's evening tonight and get out of here at a decent time. So just want to make that clear. But I'm going to give you guys the time that you guys are allotted so that you can speak about it. Okay. Thank you, guys.
And staff is just queuing up your, oh, perfect. Your PowerPoint.
Good evening, City Council members. Not now. Wait, I can talk now.
Perfect.
Good evening. My name is Delicia Donna Folk. My husband, Tom, and I have been residents of Mediterranean for the last 8 years. We both agree that the speed limit along the switchback should be a consistent 30 miles per hour. Now, will this stop bicyclists from speeding down the middle of the road? Absolutely not. Will it stop people that come here specifically to race their cars or motorcycles on the switchback? No. They come because they won't get caught. RPV claims they don't have the resources to increase policing along the switchbacks. How many more people need to die or survive a horrific accident, losing their quality of life before the city takes some responsibility? Sorry. On June 26, 2023, I was driving south down the switchback when a black Camaro was racing up, going so fast it couldn't make the turn and veered into my lane, hitting me head on. Both of our cars completely totaled. I broke my back, fractured my arm in 3 places. I'm talking fast, right? My lower back is cement and a plate. My arm had to be put back together with a plate. I will forever be in pain. There is no back to normal for me. To this day, I'm not able to walk more than 20 minutes or sit longer than 30 minutes without pain. The perpetrators did not get a ticket. Sheriff on scene said you have to have a witness to the speeding in order to get a ticket. Driver didn't have insurance. Still not even a ticket for reckless driving. I've sent letters, emails, and photos to all the city council members present here tonight, not recently elected. Mayor Pro Temp, and the newly elected Captain Guerrero, who I love, asking, begging, please reconsider and give the perps the ticket. My only response was from Captain Guerrero, and she was very kind, but can't get a ticket. We need more policing to be surged for 90 days. We need a reduction in the speed limit to 30 miles per hour and solar lit signs at blind curves. Since my accident, I now have a dash cam videotaping front and back of my car while I drive. I would like to thank the staff for their time and effort in preparing this report. However, we feel that the proposed safety recommendations are based on incomplete survey information provided to the staff. My accident, June 2023, is not included in the collision survey. 5 months later, my husband and I witnessed a downed motorcycle rider injured on PV Drive East with sheriff at scene, exact spot as my collision. Both accidents occurred within the 5-year survey, April 2019 to March 2024 timeframe. Both accidents are missing from the survey. To city staff, there are obviously more accidents than the 31 considered by GTS on their Figure 3 collision survey. Still, 2 fatalities in the 5-year period is a life and death matter. We do not want the city council making a decision for our city or our safety based on the subpar recommendations provided in the report. Thank you. Sorry I cussed.
Oh, you're good. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Marty Redfield, followed by Craig Whited, and then Lois Karp.
Marty.
Fellow members of the City Council. Palos Verdes Drive East is a nightmare. Pulling out of Ganado Drive is scary to say the least. I try to avoid the switchbacks as these people make it dangerous for innocent people by racing and speeding. It's time someone take the responsibility and do something to help the people that respect the law. We need more police. We've already had enough serious injuries where people will suffer the rest of their lives because of inconsiderate morons. Motorcycles are a huge problem. It's time to get serious before more people die and or have injuries the rest of their lives. We need help and we need it now. We can't wait another 2 years. I walk on Ganado every day with my dogs since 1971. It's unfortunate people have no respect for the people that live on this street. We've had the problem for too many years and are yet to see any speeding tickets given. Probably 95% of the people are going 50 or 60 miles per hour on this residential road. That doesn't sound fair to me. And only stop at the stop sign at Flower Ridge if they feel like it. I walk that street back and forth 8 times every day, and not many people stop at just the Flower Ridge stop sign. You take your life in your hands backing out of the driveway. Speed bumps would slow down the drivers and just make it a little easier for the police. Please take a serious consideration for that. I have to bury squirrels and bunny rabbits all the time. Next time it could be a child. Chris Knox didn't care if you loved or hated him. He kept the speeding under control. We need more someone like Chris Knox. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Craig Whited, followed by Lois Karp, and then Jim Heavener.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. My name is Craig Whited. I'm president of the Mediterranean Homeowners Association, and my wife and I have lived in this community for over 40 years. Tonight, we are facing as severe a problem along Palos Verdes Drive East as we've ever had. If the multiple fatalities, regular accidents provided in the staff report were not enough, we're disappointed that the report that the underlying traffic study completed earlier this spring is already obsolete due to another fatality on Easter Sunday on the lower switchbacks and another serious accident on Palos Verdes Drive East just below Ganado. The staff report does not even mention either of these horrible accidents and does not adequately address the truly pressing life safety issues. A few small steps with vague assurances of increased enforcement does not come close to what we need. The traffic safety study report stated that the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit was an option for the City Council to consider. We support that speed limit. Recommendations starting where the switchbacks begin above the curve at Ganado going all the way down to PV Drive South. This will allow for ticketing at 40 miles per hour in the 30-mile-per-hour zone, which along with strict traffic enforcement will hopefully slow the traffic down to the level it was in 2015 before the dedicated traffic safety deputy retired. Many of the reported accidents, including the 2 most recent fatalities, occurred outside of the hairpins on the switchbacks, since drivers rapidly accelerate in both directions in these straight areas. The reality is that most drivers won't go more than 7 to 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. And when flagrant offenders get caught above this, aggressive ticketing starting at 40 miles per hour will result in higher fines and a greater likelihood of reckless driving or racing charges. Prompt implementation of many of the recommendations in this staff report, including signage, limiting the height of new replacement hedges to 30 inches with occasional trimming as low as 24 inches, having speed feedback signs, and a designated bike lane to the left of the right turn pocket at Ganado will all help. But we need to get clear, measurable enforcement. We suggest a real surge for at least 90 days once the lower speed limit is posted to really change behavior, and then some reasonable sustained enforcement to ensure that the message sticks. Without sufficient enforcement, lives will remain at risk unnecessarily. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. All right, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Lois Karp, followed by Jim Heavener, and then Susan Sear.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Lois Karp, and I'm Vice President of Mediterranean HOA. I've lived on Ganado for 54 years. I assume you've read the letter that I sent to you last Friday. I'm very upset because the road changes, which are an important part of our plan, will not be implemented for another 2 years. We did not need to have this hearing tonight just to change a few signs and trim the landscaping. If the city had insisted on a continuation of strict enforcement that it pays for, when Deputy Knox retired, we would not be having this conversation. We can't change the road, but we can make important changes to the striping, which was listed in the consultant's report. This will help entice people not to travel at excessive speed and make PV Drive safer for both motor vehicles and bicycles. Namely, the speed limit of 30 miles an hour, the consultant says is justified, and restriping the road was also suggested by the consultants. We need to do these changes because we can't change, we haven't been able to change the speed that people are driving at. Having the sheriff's presence is essential. Tickets are the road to success. This was proven when we had dedicated Officer Knox, who was working this stretch of PV Drive East and the switchbacks. The road was much safer then. We have had many accidents and deaths over the years when Marymount College was here. Now UCLA has told us that they intend to have students on this campus by September. We must take some steps now to keep all of us safe. The Ganado entrance is not only for the 250 homes of Mediterranean. There is also Upper Ganado, which is another 100 homes. And they all use the intersection. Mediterranean has flock cameras at Ganado and PV Drive East, and it counts the cars. We have more than 2,000 vehicles going in and out every day at this intersection. Please help us make our neighborhood more safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker,
Next speaker.
is Jim Heavener, followed by Susan Sear, and then Betty Reedman.
Good evening.
Good evening. Dear members of the City Council, now is the time for the council to take clear and decisive action. With respect to the speed limit, the council has the authority to lower the speed limit to 30 miles an hour by considering the two discretionary factors that staff did not weigh in their analysis. Both factors strongly support 30 miles an hour. The first is the number and severity of accidents, which you have heard about tonight. The second are the site conditions not readily apparent to drivers, such as the proximity of the UCLA campus, the steep terrain, and the switchbacks, all referenced in the traffic study. Staff indicates a concern that lowering the limit to 30 would result in compliance issues. I just don't see that. In fact, 30 would be more consistent with current speed limits and advisories. I have 3 slides. First slide is the existing speed advisory sign at the top of the switchbacks that already warns drivers not to exceed 30 miles per hour through the curve down to Ganado. Next slide. There also are a series of speed advisory signs warning people not to drive faster than 20 to 25 miles per hour through the hairpins. Next slide. Lastly, the speed limit up and down the hill on the other side of PV Drive East already is 30 miles an hour. The speed on our side of the hill should be the same. But the key to all of this is sustained enforcement. We appreciate staff recommending enforcement be a priority, but the proposed motion is too vague. Staff should be directed to meet with the sheriff and return in 60 days with a clear plan, and council should hold them both accountable against that plan. Otherwise, the whole effort is a waste of money and the lives of our residents will remain at risk. At a minimum, the plan should include a 90-day surge plus priority patrols afterward, a set minimum number of patrols covering key times of day and days of the week, and a clear understanding of what the target, which is not people who might exceed the limit by 5 or 10 miles an hour. People are literally racing up down the switchbacks at 60 miles an hour or more. These drivers, like the person who nearly killed our friend Donna Falk, are the target. You need to take action. We agree with other staff recommendations with small but important modifications. First, waiting more than a year after implementation to conduct a follow-up is way too long. Second, we agree with replacement of the landscaping, but disagree that the current landscaping should be immediately hacked back to 24 inches. There's no reason why the current slow-growing landscaping can't be trimmed back to the recommended 30 inches to minimize the aesthetic impact. If staff moves forward in a timely manner, the proposed landscaping plan should take no more than 90 days to complete, so regrowth should not be an issue.
Jim, can you wrap it up?
Thank
please?
you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate
you.
the time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Susan Sear. Susan Sear, followed by Betty Reedman, and then George Crunch.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Excuse me, my name is Susan Sear. I am a resident in Mediterranean. And as an avid cyclist, my husband and I are regular riders on the entire Palos Verdes Drive East section and then up to Crest Road. And we regularly ride there for the incredible training opportunities, as well as, of course, the views. But I have to say that I'm also regularly terrified by the safety and the traffic issues that we encounter on that stretch of road. And so I'm happy to be here to support the recommendations that the traffic study has brought forward. And most specifically for me as a cyclist and a law-abiding one, I am one of the slower riders out there. I want to point out that and support the restriping and the addition of a bike lane at the intersection of Ganado and Palos Verdes Drive East. I really feel that will help clarify right-of-way issues, excuse me, and help get me out of the traffic lane. I would much rather be in a bike lane, as most riders I know would, and not either in a right-hand turn lane, not turning right, or in the traffic lane with all the rest of the cars. Second, I do, with everybody else, support and encourage you all to reduce the speed limit to a consistent 30 miles an hour, but couple that with enforcement. I suffer the same frustration that the rest of the speakers do, both as a cyclist and a driver. But imagine, too, the impact that this will have on cyclists, since they can be ticketed, too, especially when they are trying to set personal best records downhill. And also the impact of a collision when those do happen and have happened and will continue to happen, the difference between it going 30 miles an hour on a bike and a collision at 50 miles an hour. So my support for that. And lastly, which hasn't been brought up, but I feel is very important personally, is the maintenance of the shoulders of Palos Verdes Drive East, especially the lower switchbacks. The vegetation has been cut. It usually is cut only once a year, but it's for some reason the vegetation is not cut on the lower switchbacks. There's a section where the vegetation overhangs into the roadway, and worse than that, there's two sections of the lower switchbacks which have become completely occluded with erosion from above, with dirt and rocks. And there is no bike shoulder, or fog shoulder, whatever. There's no shoulder that I can ride on. I try to ride on the shoulders. I try to stay out of the way of traffic when I can. Everybody I know does, but I can't. There's no place to go because those shoulders are not ever clean. So I really encourage maintenance to come out and get those shoulders cleared so we can get off the roadway when we most want to. So thanks so much for hearing me out.
Thank you. Speaker?
Betty Reedman, followed by George Crudge, and then Brent Sharippa.
Hi.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting me speak. I moved to Mediterranean in 1979, and the traffic on the Ganado PV Drive East switchback roads has only become more dangerous over the years, mainly because there's currently no enforcement of the traffic laws along this stretch. Years ago, we had good police enforcement. We didn't have the problems that we have now. The sign approaching the switchbacks that says no noise tolerance is absolutely useless. If nothing else, please lower the speed limit and then enforce it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is George Crudge, followed by Brent Sharippa, and then Dominique Lamb.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for allowing us to have this forum to express our concerns. I'm a recent resident. My name is George Crudge. I'm the treasurer of the MHOA, and beautiful area. Love it immensely. Been here for 4 years. The first thing we had to learn was, with great trepidation, watch out for that intersection on Ganado and Rancho Palos Verde East. It is treacherous. I've had experience as an ambulance driver in Germany on the Autobahn. I know what driving 90 miles per hour is like, but on that particular intersection, I feel unacceptable. 30 miles per hour is the most obvious option that was provided, recommended. I have no idea why it's not been enforced. The biggest second problem is, in the 4 years I've lived here, never have seen a ticket being administered. I don't understand. People are speeding, people are dying. There was a fatality, as we all know, on Easter Sunday, and we're back to the same business the next morning on Monday. If we don't have the officers, we need to figure out a way, have some kind of enforcement. Once again, highly recommend lower speeds, 30 miles per hour. Thank you. My only concern is I love this area. I want to live here. I don't want to die at an intersection. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Brent Sharippa, followed by Dominique Lamb and Hans Bosler.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Thank you. Good.
Hi, I'm Brent Sharippa. I am a homeowner and resident of the Mediterranean Homeowners Association area. I'm a father of 2 young kids, 3-year-old and 1-year-old. Many of the residents of the neighborhood will see me walking my children and dog around the neighborhood. And I just wanted to, I'll give you time back of my allotted time, but I wanted to echo my support for my peers on the Homeowners Association board that have asked City Council to consider a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in addition of the restriping of the lanes, redoing traffic signs, vegetation, and most importantly, the traffic enforcement in the area. So I'll give you time back, but I just wanted to express my position as a father of 2 young kids who it would be a tragic. We moved to the Palos Verdes area for safety, schools, and a good community environment for kids to grow up in. If that doesn't exist because there's a few subject people that are breaking the laws, racing on the weekends, I asked for this city to lean on the sheriff deputies to enforce that. So I just want to emphasize the enforcement aspects of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dominic Lum, followed by Hans Bosler and Gilda Whited.
Hi, good evening. Thank
Good
you for
evening.
letting me speak. My name is Dominique Lamb. I'm a resident of the Mediterranean area. And I just wanted, obviously, I agree with everything everyone else has said. I just wanted to point out one issue with the, talking about the traffic speeds in the studies and saying how, oh, well, we looked at, this area of Palos Verdes where the speed limit happens to be 40. And look, most people are going around 40. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence, right? We look here and see that in the area around UCLA where Marymount was, the speed limit is 35. And we had there the 85th percentile of people are going 35 or 37. I think all that's proving is that 85% percentile is going to be about what the speed limit already is. So if the speed limit is 40, most people are going to go around 40 because they figure, hey, that's a good speed. So I think that if you were to repeat that study with it having been reduced to 30, you're probably going to find that, hey, that 85th percentile is going to be around 30 to 35, right? So I think that it's kind of a false positive, like looking at that saying, well, look, people automatically drive faster there, so it should be safe. It's that the speed limit is faster, so people are driving faster. So if you were to drop that speed limit, you're going to see that response because most people go around the speed limit. So I think that that alone justifies dropping the speed limit down more. Just like the study did recommend, you could drop it down to 30. Because if you take into account the accidents, like looking there it's like double the amount of what's expected. So if we have twice the amount, I can't remember what the second number was, but the first was sort of the expected amount of accidents. It's already double that. So we have like hard proof that whatever's going on there currently doesn't work. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next
Our
speaker,
next
please.
Our next speaker is Hans Bosler, followed by Gilda Whited and Tim McGinley.
Today. Hello, my name is Hans Bosler. I live on Cool Heights Drive, just 2 blocks from the intersection with PV Drive East. So I think it's important for us, all of us, to think about why this area is sort of special. And it's the topography of the thing. It goes downhill, spectacular scenery, lots of very, very, very tight curves, and it attracts people who want to see it and test their cars and everything. So as an example, on a recent hike that I hike along PD Drive a lot to get exercise, and on that hike, I was first confronted just below crest with a motorcycle, very well-equipped looking one, with the guy was wearing full leather outfit, if you know what that is, and took off at a very high rate of speed. It wasn't more than 3 or 4 minutes before he reappeared. He went all the way down to the bottom, came back up, and then he turned around and went back down again. That's the last I saw of him. Fortunately, I didn't hear any loud crash or anything, so he presumably survived. And then I'm walking, and about 5 minutes later, a car came by that it was sort of a souped up Toyota. It wasn't anything special, but he was going as fast as he could, and he's being chased by a guy in a yellow sports car. Probably looked a lot like a Ferrari. I'm not exactly sure, but that's kind of what we have. So you do these traffic studies, most people are okay. Lots of people come and stop at the turnouts and get pictures, but then there's this other group, right, that is really causing bad trouble. And so anyway, the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit and then really putting in some decent enforcement, it looks like the best thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker.
Is Gilda Whited, followed by Tim McGinley and John Lakis.
Good evening. My name is Gilda Whited.
Do
and I
you one
think you-
favor, Ms. White? Can you pull the mic towards your mouth?
Oh.
Yeah, just pull it down. You can pull the whole thing down. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Gilda Whited, and I think you have already heard what I was planning to say, so I don't want to repeat myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Tim McGinley, followed by John Lakis and Brett Walker.
Good evening. Good evening. Tim McGinley. I'm in Casalina and Mira Catalina. And good to be back here with all of you. Thank you so much for taking the time, Mayor and City Council and friends. By way of background, my father actually and my brother actually helped develop the Casalina area back in 1960, 61, 62. They bought one of the first houses. When I was this big, we used to come over here and we ended up leasing our house out. But I've been coming here since 1962. I now live in the area. Our good friend Susan Brooks, I guess, used to be the mayor, asked us to come and maybe relay some of her thoughts. So just look at me as the conduit. I don't have the experience directly of living here and working here. And by the way, just to interject, I have worked in Chicago, Dallas, LA with city council and city people. I have never had nicer people than work here. Your staff, I don't know what you do to train them. I don't know what they do to go to work and love it. My own family don't treat me this good. It's seriously. So whoever owns that should own that and stand up and take some applause, because it means a lot when you're trying to develop projects and people get in the way instead of helping you. It's not always the best. So just that, I just wanted to interject that. But Ms. Brooks wanted to make sure, she has some thoughts about bicycle lanes. She wants to make sure that if we can, that we have enforcement stepped up. She mentions that in 2018, I guess the enforcement used to be at a higher standard. I wasn't here, I don't know. But if we could do that, I think that would make, and she mentioned some things about lights and restriping and bike lanes and that sort of thing. So you all have heard a lot about that. I can't add anything other than to say, I don't know what your contract's like with your law enforcement and fire and so forth. And I would imagine there's metrics in there, right? Mayor, anyone? Anyone? No? Well, I would imagine there's metrics in your contracts that sort of lay things out in terms of what is expected, right? Every contract has that, right? If I'm going to build something on your house, you expect me to do the job right within a certain time frame. I don't know what the metrics are. Is it the number of tickets you give, you don't give? I don't know. But it might be good to broadcast that to folks. That's sort of the hearing. That's what I was hearing in my neighborhood was, what do we hear? How do we know? Maybe the police are overextended, not extended. Is the contract rich? Is it lean? Should we go with a different agency? Should we go with what we have? And maybe that's something that could be talked about, and maybe not in this forum, but in another forum. And from my own personal perspective, I always like to know what I'm signing. So if it could be broadcast and we could understand better about what our contracts do and don't include, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is John Lakis, followed by Brent Walker and Bertha Romero.
All of the stuff that I wrote down has already been said, so I'm going to go off the cuff here. Craig and I go out there all the time cleaning up the accidents. When I say cleaning them up, I'm talking about the people that get hurt. We go out there with our blankets, we go out there with our first aid gear and help them out. The last one was the bicyclist coming down the hill who ran into the side of the car turning left. I talked to Ramsey and the survey guy. I think those ideas are great. We got to get those bikes further out in the road off of the right-hand turn lane as they come down. That way they'll be more visible. But we got to implement it. We got to do it. Can't just say it. Can't be talking about it for 2 years. Got to do it. And then as far as the sheriff's department, they have to be there. They're not there right now. I see them, and every now and then I will see somebody get a ticket, but it's a lot less than usual. I've lived there in that area for 50 years. I've lived on the corner since 1998. I've seen a lot of accidents. I've seen a lot of bikes, the motorcycles going down, the bikes going down, and all the accidents. So I think now we just got to implement this stuff. I mean, we're talking about signs. We're talking about painting the road. Let's get that done. It's not hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Brett Walker, followed by Bertha Romero, and then Tina Cooley Nunez.
Hi, my name is Brett Walker. I live in a unique house that overlooks all of the switchbacks from the very bottom to the very top. I submitted a video and I'm hoping to play that. If we could go ahead and, it's 5 minutes, so I don't know if we want to cut it. Yeah, if we want to cut it short, I really cut it. But this gives a view of what's really happening on the switchbacks. This is the raceway. So if we could go ahead and play it and then we can cut it off whenever. And I just want to make a quick comment. Can you turn it up a little bit? This just gives it an example of guys coming up and doing laps. It's not typically coming and going one time. They'll go up and down 10 times. So at the very bottom, they do a turn. This guy will turn around and then he'll go back up. So I just want to add that this is gotten worse. So I've been there over, I think, 26 years. This is the worst it's ever been. I don't know if it's because of social media or not, but people are coming. They're coming at all hours of the night. So you'll see this right at the end. He'll make a U-turn and then he'll start going back. And it just goes up and down, up and down. So it's absolutely the worst it's ever been. And it's organized. By that, I mean sometimes 4 cars showing up at 1 o'clock in the morning with, it's not just random. So you'll see the later clips here where there's 4 cars racing, full on racing. They'll pull into the here, I wish you could hear it a little bit better. This is probably at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I apologize for some of this is like when I'm waking up, getting out of bed. This is an example. Yeah. Yeah, so they're using these turnouts as like their pit crew. Like that's where they hit their pit. This is a car that went off the road here. So they're not hiding the fact that they come here to race. Actually, on the top of the switchbacks, this is about 2 years ago, they wrote start line. There was an actual start line they wrote on the ground. So my suggestion is the improvements on the switchback need to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think
Hour after a fatality, we believe it's a fatality, and now.
Yeah, if we can just wrap up real quick, we can't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the fatality and they're racing 5 minutes later. Anyway, so my recommendation is that maybe it's a physical adjustment to the switchbacks. Right now, it's a very popular raceway where guys come to race. And if they come to race at 1 o'clock in the morning, the sheriff's not going to be there. And people are going to get hurt. So about a couple of years ago, Jim Powers, who was the captain of Lomita Sheriff Station, came over to the house and he had a very interesting idea.
For me, please?
Yeah, he had a very interesting, and that's more of like a roundabout or something turnout that will physically slow down the car. So anyway, that's it. So I just want to save some lives. So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem, I just want to let you know, Mr. Walker did email an attachment with the video, I believe, a couple days ago. So
And yeah, we did see it. Yeah. Thank you.
Our
Hi,
next,
Good evening.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hold on, do me
this
one favor,
evening.
grab that mic for me, just pull it down.
Pull it down?
Yeah, there you go.
My name is Bertha Romero, and I come from I'm representing with, together with Mr. McGinty and with Tina, or McGinley, sorry. And Tina, we're from the Mira Catalina neighborhood. Anyway, I just wrote a few notes and I hope to get through them fairly quickly, but we've now heard from many of our neighbors over in the Ganado/Mediterranean area. We too encounter substantial challenges in the Mira Catalina neighborhood that are closely linked to the problems at Ganado and the switchbacks. In fact, I believe that the starting point of this de facto racetrack may actually begin as cars approach the San Ramon neighborhood from Miralest, where the road expands to 2 lanes and extends to PV Drive South. Our residents are arguably held hostage by the traffic problems, whether on foot or in our cars. We live in constant fear for our safety. Cars traveling at high speeds run through red lights and even turn into pedestrians in the crosswalks. Sometimes multiple cars will be racing south on PV Drive East at Casalina Drive, and they'll dodge each other when they encounter the turn lane, causing near misses. Recently, a car lost control near the turn lane, rolled, and landed in a neighbor's backyard. During the night, and this is part of what the prior speaker referred to, what are called sideshows are conducted featuring stunts such as drifting, which is a driving technique where the driver intentionally oversteers to make a car slide sideways through corners at high speeds. Noise and smoke from the squealing tires and the loud music rise up to the sleeping neighborhood. Then they continue down the road to terrorize our neighbors from Ganado to PV Drive South. There have already been fatalities on the switchbacks. It's only a matter of time until a Mira Catalina resident is severely injured or worse. We recognize that our city faces many challenges and that budgets are stretched very thin, but the safety and comfort of our residents is already under threat. We ask for increased enforcement, lowering the speed limit to 30 miles per hour, certainly posted signs or flashing lights and raised pavement markers, or what I call bots dots. Even modest actions such as trimming overgrown hedges and trees at PV Drive East and Crest Road East would also be welcome. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thanks again for your attention and consideration.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Our next speaker is Tina Cooley Nunez, followed by Mike Whelan and Ronald Brandt.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I won't go into all, everybody has been very successful, I think, in demonstrating how frustrated they are and how frustrated they are at the LA Sheriff's Department. What I'd like to present is the fact that I believe that we don't have all the facts, and I think that there are other options that are available to us outside of the Sheriff's Department. I believe that contacting outside agencies, Torrance Traffic, Long Beach Traffic, Rolling Hills, go to, another traffic jurisdiction, I believe coming in and taking over the traffic portion is something that we should seriously look at. And the reason being is LA Sheriff has failed us. And I'm really sad to say that. And since 2018, I haven't seen one proposal come out of the LA Sheriff's Department. And normally you will have that out of the operations lieutenant or sergeant. Nothing. There's nothing. And very frustrating because that is the captain's right hand. I'm not saying that you were the captain, but it doesn't matter. Nothing has been done. I've lived there now 4 years. I've called every weekend. I get the same thing. We'll get somebody up there when we can. That's not okay. It's sad that we have to sit here, and it's sad that I have to even chastise the Sheriff's Department because the Sheriff's Department is very near and dear to me. I retired from it. So it really, really rings home, and it really bothers me. I really want to look into an outside agency. I want to look into a proposition from another agency to work traffic in that area because I know that something will get done. And I know that for a fact because I've worked with 2 other agencies besides the sheriff's department. And when our people, our citizens needed something done, we put something together as soon as possible. I have seen nothing with the sheriff's department except for we'll get somebody up there when we can. And you know, hey, Sarge, you know how it is when I've called up to get units. So, not acceptable. And I am angry. I'm angry because my husband, who's a retired homicide investigator, he was driving with my daughter 2 days ago, pulls out of Casalina to go down the switchbacks, and he had a car on him so right on his back end that he had to signal and pull over to let this car go. And he's a professional driver. He's driven for 34 years and trained by the best agency in the world, LA Sheriff. And he had to pull over to get out of this person's way. What I'm saying is, where is our law enforcement? It's not there. I never see it. When I call, I don't get them. And that's not acceptable because we have an operations bureau. We have a lieutenant, we have a sergeant in the operations bureau.
Can we please wrap it up?
And that something should have been done a long time ago and it never was. And this is another captain. And I don't even know what
Can you
he's
finish
going
that
to
thought,
do.
please?
Pardon me?
Can you please finish that thought? You're over time.
Right.
Thank you.
So I'm not putting it off on her, but she has known about this problem. My suggestion, and again, what I want to see is, I want to see other stations, I want to see other departments, their traffic units contacted, and I want to see what they can do for us. Because I know they can do something better than what we've got now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Whelan, followed by Mike Whelan, followed by Ronald Brandt, and then via Zoom, Chris Dethridge.
Hello, I'm Mike Whalen. As a homeowner, I drive Palos Verdes Drive East every day. And I have a slightly different perspective on things. I agree that the road is very dangerous for bicyclists. I myself have had very close near misses on the northern part of PV Drive East with bicyclists where the roads become much narrower and more winding and where the sight lines are reduced quite a bit. So if you're going to reduce the speed limits and put in bike lanes on the south end of the road, I'm very concerned you're going to be encouraging more bike traffic on the northern end of the road where it's really not suitable to share bicycles and automobiles on the same road. So if you're going to do that, please address widening the roads in those areas and taking steps to make sure that we're not actually making the problem worse on the overall portion of the road. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Ronald Brandt, followed by Chris Dethridge.
Oh, can we load some more time? I'm kidding. So I'm Ron Brandt. Former Miracat resident. Now we live at the top of the hill at Rancho Palos Verdes Estates. And I want to echo it. You know, I think that we need more enforcement just in general. And one of the concerns we have where we live is the cyclist. And I agree that, you know, probably 50% of the cyclists are very good. The other 50% sometimes are in the left-hand lane going down 2 lanes. At times, and I've seen a cyclist, I haven't seen one hit a door, but I have seen a cyclist, you know, basically speeding down the hill, losing traction and hitting the ground and twitching, whether he was seizing or in a, or something else, or an ambulance had to be called. So when we look at it as we're fine with, you know, the speed limits don't really, aren't our biggest issue is really enforcement of the speed limits. And that's both for cars, and I have seen cars ticketed. In 20 years, I've never seen a cyclist ticketed, which I find odd because we've seen them on the wrong side of the road. I've seen our sheriff's department actually pass them at the very top of Crest on the 2-lane, endangering other folks, somebody on oncoming traffic, which I just find very difficult to, it's like, why not pull the person over, or they have to move to the side. So I think widening the roads would be very important. If we are going to put traffic or bicycle lanes in, then the cyclists should stay in that cycle, in that lane. If they're not, they should be ticketed, just as a normal driver would be. Also at the PV Drive East and Crest, I've seen cyclists blow that light, one after another. So I think it's very important that we actually have the sheriff's department actually focus on making sure that they're ticketing cyclists as well as cars, not just cars. So I don't think I have much more to say.
Thank you very much.
50 seconds.
Next speaker.
Our final speaker is Chris Deathridge via Zoom.
Hi, yes, sorry you all have to hear from me again. So I just want to second the last speaker's points. I agree on the cyclist issue. However, I've only lived in the Ganado area for about 2 years, and literally within 6 months of moving here, I saw a cyclist hit and basically crippled at the intersection, and I saw a motorcyclist hit and laying on the side of the road. I've lived all over the country. I've never seen that volume of accidents in that short period of time. And those are just the ones I've personally witnessed, not the after effect of flower crosses on the side of the road that I've seen recently. The state of traffic safety here is unacceptable. It's quite literally the worst I've ever seen anywhere I've ever lived. Now, the reality is that we can trim up hedges and we can, improve lanes and we can lower speed limits. But again, as you can see from the statistics that they gave, that the 85th percentile are basically following the speed limit. The problem is that other 25%, and probably even a subset of that, of people who just don't care what the signs say. It doesn't matter to them. They're there for one thing. And people have said it already, the topography of the area. It's beautiful, but really, I mean, it's like something out of a car commercial, right? Tight switchbacks with a scenic background. People come here and race all the time. I hear them all the time. I call the sheriff's department. They're done racing before the sheriff even gets here, if the sheriff even comes. I mean, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. But furthermore, these people park on the turnouts on the side of the road and they drink and they smoke, right? Why do they do that? Because they're not scared, because the sheriff's office doesn't come by. And if they do come by, they clearly don't pay attention to them. And the reality is that people talk, and more people talk. Hey, there's this great area of this rich neighborhood, right, that has great scenes and the cops never come by and bother us. Other people are going to take notice of that. And then we're going to have the same burglary issues that they have in places like Beverly Hills or more inland into the greater LA County area. I don't want that to happen. I moved here because I thought it was a great, safe place to raise my kids, right? The reality is that a lack of enforcement breeds lawlessness, and that lawlessness just breeds more lawlessness, right? Because people talk. And if we don't address this from an enforcement perspective, and maybe we can't get a sheriff's deputy out here full time, whatever, right? But that doesn't mean we can't do anything. I mean, why can't we put up cameras and put up notice that the area is being recorded, right? If there is...
Hey, Chris, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up for me.
Yeah, sorry. But final point is that just because we can't afford a sheriff's deputy doesn't mean we can't do anything. Some type of deterrent should be in place that has some segment of accountability attached to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. We're all done. Okay, got it. Council deliberation. Councilmember Peristan.
I have some questions to staff.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Do we have data on whether this is the most dangerous area in the city road-wise, top 5, not dangerous at all, given comparison to other areas of the city? Do we have that type of historical data? We don't. We don't. Okay. Next question. Do we have information on whether these incidents happen day or night, time of day reporting?
The collision reports are analyzed for time of day, weather conditions, et cetera. So yes, we do have that information.
So we could match that up with north and southbound incidents as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And another thing, this is, I'll come back to this a little because it's really came up tonight, it reminded me. Restrictions on the turnouts. Do we have the ability as a city to restrict parking in those areas to 1 hour after sunset to 1 hour before sunrise? And I'm just giving an example of what's possible. Do we have that ability to restrict those turnouts?
Don't know. We'd have to do some analysis.
In fact, I believe we do. I believe we have other areas that we do restrict, but we'll look into it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mayor Triham, I'll wait for the deliberation to start. I just want to get those questions out first. Thanks.
Sorry, Councilmember, I have an answer to your earlier question on when the last time the speed limit was changed.
Yes.
The last time that occurred was in 2014. So in 2007, 35 miles per hour north and south of Ganado. 2014, that changed. 35 miles per hour remained the same north of Ganado, but the change was south of Ganado from 35 to 40 miles per hour. And that's been in effect since 2014.
2014. Okay. Thank you. Looking that up, Ramsey, appreciate it.
Councilmember Lewis.
Yes, thank you. To staff, I heard broad support tonight from residents who are in favor of lowering the speed limit to 30 as opposed to 35, which is staff recommendation. While with the caveat that people who are going to ignore the speed limit are going to ignore the speed limit, but what's the contrarian case? Is there a contrarian case? Why wouldn't we adopt that if the people who are most proximate to it and affected by it are in favor of it? So I'd just like to hear what the other side of that is, if there's a downside.
Yeah, the consideration here is that a 10 mile per hour drop at one time, especially in a city where we don't often change speed limits, we have not had a speed limit reduction since 2014, may not result in high compliance. And so we want to make sure that there is high compliance. However, the city council can go straight to 30 miles per hour. My professional recommendation would be to do that under very careful consideration.
Would not a sharper drop at once attract more attention, be more noteworthy to drivers?
It may, but again, it may not result in high compliance.
Okay, fair.
Councilmember Ferraro.
Okay. I made a few notes. It seems to me like we need more enforcement. And I turned to the sheriff we have here. Is that possible? I mean, I know things have changed a lot in the last few years. And is it possible that we have deputies on board that could be pivoted over here more often? Because it seemed like we used to have more coverage. And I'm saying this because I live in that area myself and have for more than 30 years. And so I know what they're saying about, and also the people that run up and down that area. It does seem like they're more on the weekends, because just when I have to drive down the switchbacks, they're packed on the weekends. The turnoffs are packed with people. But do you have enough people that you can monitor that more than what we're getting right now? That's my question.
Thank you, ma'am. So, you know, I hear everyone's outcry for law enforcement. And I've been here for a year and a half, and I know that for several decades that the switchback, specifically your area that you're speaking of, it's a hot spot for speeders. Yes, I know that. Near fatalities, and injury collisions do occur. Okay, we recognize that. And it's due obviously to the roadway configuration. So if you obviously you've shown the roadway configuration, it is very hard to enforce the speeding on that roadway. Can it happen? Absolutely. Has it happened? Yes. And I know Deputy Knox, I don't know him personally. But we do not have a dedicated traffic deputy that we can put in that area specifically. And here's the reason why. And I wanted to explain this to you because I think you need to understand how we operate. So back in 2015, I believe you said, and 2018, Deputy Knox was here. And that was a different time. It really was. And right now we're having, and I'm sure you know from the news, we do have staffing shortages, number one, which is unfortunate because if I had the staffing, I would definitely dedicate for the next 3 months, once the speed limit or even now, somebody there constantly because I hear you, okay? Don't think I don't hear you because I do. And I'm very concerned myself because I do have kids. And if I were walking my kids and dogs, I would be very concerned myself. So I hear your outcry and but right now, it's very difficult to actually have someone dedicated there. But I assure you that we do have a plan, and it is currently in place. Since I've heard, I've actually seen the letters, I've seen the correspondence, and what we've put together is there is a motor deputy. And if you know the contract, and I know someone spoke of the contract, you'll understand that everything that contract is made of is split between the 3 cities, which is Rancho Palos Verdes, Rolling Hills Estates, and Rolling Hills. Rancho PV does own majority of that contract, yes. So what we plan to do is, and your city is very supportive of your community. I will say that. They do give supplemental overtime, but that supplemental overtime is used for not just traffic, it's for crime. Residential burglaries is one of our #1 concerns right now. But knowing that we have many complaints, we are dedicating that supplemental overtime to the switchbacks. So you will see more enforcement. There is a motor deputy that, again, he is shared between the cities, but we are gonna dedicate his time over on the switchbacks. But you have to understand our motor deputy is just Monday through Friday. I think it's Monday through Friday, and it's just during the day. He's a motor deputy. So there will be operations that we have put together that will be in effect. I can't tell you when because obviously that's confidential, but you will see more enforcement and more operations that do utilize, obviously, having someone up top on the hill, having deputies at the bottom, and them call out individuals that are speeding on the hill. So we are being proactive and we will continue to be proactive. So you will see more law enforcement. And if you don't, and if you call, and it's very disheartening that to hear when you do call that no deputies show up. To me, that breaks my heart. And they will be held accountable. If you give me the time, day, when you call and we don't show up, we're here to serve you. So when that happens, I need to know. I'll be here after if you want my card, my number. I think I've spoken to several of you on occasion, and I don't have a problem with you calling me any time of day, whether it be 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and let me know if my deputies aren't showing up, okay? Because, and that's just not in this community, it's in every community that if there's issues like that, that's concerning to me. So I want to address it right from the go. So I hope I answered your question, ma'am, but I really wanted to address them. I know they have a lot of concerns about enforcement, and I take it to heart because that's obviously I'm the captain at Lomita. So again, we will be out in enforcement. Trust me.
Interesting to me that you said that you have the motor deputy, but he's only there Monday through Friday, because it seems like and I say our because
Sure.
my neighborhood too, that the areas are crowded on the switchbacks on the weekends because that's when people from other areas come up here.
Sure.
And so having a motor deputy Monday through Friday doesn't really address the problem of our weekend people. But thank you for all you do for us because.
Absolutely. And again, I don't know the schedule of how they do the schedule for the motor deputies. They're a totally different entity than our cars that we have out there. So we will have cars out, including this weekend, during the early morning hours to enforce their concerns, the community's concerns.
If we could get a motor deputy on the weekends and have them off like Monday and Tuesday, because Monday and Tuesday, there's nobody parked at those. That's when I go sit and park at the overlook and meditate for a minute. But on the weekends, I couldn't possibly go to the overlooks because they're crowded. So if we could get him from, instead of Monday through Friday, we could get him to include Saturday and Sunday and then be off 2 other days.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but it would make more sense for what we need.
It's definitely something that I will go back to my training and scheduling and find out if that's possible.
Okay.
But like I said, there will be enforcement over in that area, more enforcement in that area. But just realize that, like I said, if you understood the contract, you'd understand that there are other crimes that we have to answer to. There are calls for service that we have to answer to. There's traffic collisions. There's all kinds of things that we have to answer to besides this traffic issue. So I want you to understand that we are spread thin throughout this whole peninsula. So.
And I know too, that we used to be this enclave sort of up here. I mean, I've lived in my current house for 30 some years and I've been here almost 50. And, you know, now with phones and TV and all of the communication devices that we have these days, more people know about the area and more people come to the area. And for the most part, it seems to me like it's either people out of the area that are speeding, because most of the people I know are pretty good about following the rules and regulations. And I mean, even I, in a hurry, don't really go much over 40 miles an hour. And I've tried this week to see just how the different speeds would work. And really and truly, 40 miles an hour is not a bad speed. And besides, when you go through the 2 twists, you can't do that much anyway. But it's people that are going way more than that that are causing the problems. And I don't know how we can help that problem unless we get more enforcement. Because just changing the signs, I don't think will do it. I think, you know, we've got most people in our area, you know, if they don't have kids now, they had them at one time. I mean, you know, I've had kids and grandkids that are now growing up, but we care about the community and we try our best to watch out for each other and watch out for the traffic and watch out for things that are going on. And yet, when you get people up here that are just interested in seeing how fast they can go up and down that, we need enforcement, you know. So let's, wait, let me go through my list and then, well, and then one of the things I wrote down was we used to have more coverage. But it seems to me like as the area became more well-known, then you have more things that you have to cover with more or less the same or even less people on staff. And it's more on the weekends. So I think if it's possible to get someone to cover the weekends and give them off during the week, that would help a little bit. And then let's see. That's pretty much what I have to say. I mean, we appreciate the people that we've had on the police staff over the years. We've had great people, but it's almost like we need you to refocus on this area for a while to help get some of the people that are causing most of the trouble either to slow down or get out of this area.
We will definitely concentrate our efforts in our staff and what we have in those areas on the times and days that we see that these street racers are actually out and about. So we will enforce it. But again, I just want you all to understand that we are spread thin. And like I said, with the staffing shortages, and also we are still sending people to the Palisades and Eaton fires. So you have to understand that too. So I know being fully staffed, we will definitely do our best to combat this issue, and you will definitely see more enforcement. And if you don't, you call me.
All right.
Okay.
Ara?
Thank you.
Thank you. What I'd like to, well, first off, I think it's very clear. It's clear to me. I'm very familiar with this area. I've known the traffic and the behaviors of drivers in this area. I've witnessed it. I understand what the residents are saying. And you can design certain things to address driver behavior, but I also understand, and I'm hearing it loud and clear, that there's a component of it is the enforcement. You could change speed limits, you can keep speed limits, but it's not effective without enforcement. So what I'd like to suggest to the council is we can come back with a separate agenda item very soon that will outline some enforcement protocols and what we can try to do. We have our public safety division. We can work with the sheriff's department and outline some strategies on how to deal with it. We do have a supplemental overtime, and I know the captain said that a portion of that is allocated towards burglaries and other kinds of crimes that we have to respond to. But maybe we can look at that and see if we need to bring some more funding into it. We can look if there's some that we could do, and I could work with the captain to try to find a motor deputy who's willing to work overtime to cover the weekends, the day. I mean, I know we say, oh, maybe we can cut here and add here, but it's pretty much any time of the day in evenings that it happens 7 days a week. I've seen it during the week. And the video that was shown, you see that cycle pattern. I've witnessed it. So I'd like to make that, if the council, as you get through your deliberations, you can give us direction to come back.
Yeah,
with
just
a
let me let Mayor Bradley speak if he has a comment. Mayor Bradley, if you have anything to
Thank you,
say.
Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I think this is a relatively simple issue. I don't know that changing the speed limit is going to do anything. What we have is a rampant disregard of the current speed limits. Whether it's 35 or 40 or 30 miles an hour, without enforcement, we have no speed limits. I don't think anybody would debate that going 35 miles an hour up or down the PV Drive East switchbacks is a controlled speed. But I think what we're talking about and the videos that were showed shows speeds that are in excess of, I mean, it looks like from those 50 to 100% of those speeds. So it really comes down to enforcement. I do know growing up here that our show of force for enforcement of traffic violations has dropped marketably. In the past, had much more show of force for traffic enforcement. Captain Guerrero, I know we're stretched thin, but I do believe that traffic enforcement, a strong show of force, has a secondary benefit of showing a strong police presence to people that may want to do other nefarious things within the city. So people being pulled over for a traffic violation and on the side of the road getting a ticket is very indicative to people that come into our city that want to do other nefarious things. So I think those two things are not in conflict. In fact, I think they're very complementary. A overt show of force and show of enforcement of our traffic codes is a good indication of a community that has a very low tolerance for crime. I would certainly encourage the Sheriff's Department to redouble your focus on a show of force on Palos Verdes Drive East. This is something, Captain Guerrero, that we have been talking about from before your tenure began with Captain Powers before you, and it has ebbed and flowed. During the pandemic, we saw a huge uptick when, it was one of the only recreation things. But I think enforcement is the key. I don't see any benefit for reducing the current speed limits, but I do see a huge benefit to enforcing our current statutes and slowing speeds down to what is currently posted, which is a safe speed to transit Palos Verdes Drive East. Also, I do believe trimming back the foliage at the corner of Ganado and PV Drive East does help the sight lines, does help people turning out that are turning left or right onto PV Drive East have a better sight line. I think that is a low cost, low threat, very easy thing to do that would significantly improve safety for our residents, certainly the ones that are coming out of Ganado and turning left up the hill going towards UCLA. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor Burley. Councilmember Peristam.
Thank you. I have a different view on this. I'm a resident right outside of that area. I've been traveling between living at PV Drive South and PV Drive East for 40 years, going up and down and different perspectives on this. And I think it's really complicated because there's multiple areas that we're speaking of. So for me to understand this and to have an opinion and weigh on, even getting in the weeds, with great respect for our engineering guidelines, which are our foundation where we start, I'd like to take a little different approach. So I'd like to take it from the Granado intersection up, and also the switchbacks down, and both northbound and southbound. So I'm going to talk in four different categories here. Three are fairly simple and straightforward, and the fourth one's a bit more complicated. Ramsey, do we have the capability of Google Earthing and real-time driving down the road?
Certainly, I'll screen share that in just a
Okay,
moment.
great, thank you. It'll help me articulate my thoughts on this. So the area I'd like to start is I'd like to start at Crest Road southbound, because this is the complicated one. This is the tough one. Okay, great. Okay, I'll tell you when to stop and start here. Just proceed here, and I'll give my comments about my experiences over all these years. Okay, a little further, a little further. Okay, so we're going to come up on Casalina here. And between, you can stop for a second. What happens is when we're approaching Casalina, there's a series of 3 signs, and they basically get in the way of each other. And what's a problem is they get in the way of each other which you'll see in a second, but the driver's focus is on trying to figure out how to get over to the left-hand lane if you're not going to turn into Castellina. So if you're into Castellina, you're already over there on the right, you know you're going to make your right turn, that's your community. So your attention is to move over. So can you, Ramsey, can you proceed down the road a little bit? I know it switches over there. I've done the same thing. So here you stop right there. So you go up with the sign. Actually, we missed it. Yeah. So if you're coming on the road, the sign right there, which you really can't see, I believe it's the, that sign blocks the next sign, which you're seeing where with the warning sign to make a 30-mile-an-hour left-hand turn. Nobody sees that. When you're driving down there, you're just trying to get over, and that's not where your focus is. Okay, so those signs, and by the way, that was not on the report, the recognition of those signs. So let's get through the intersection there, and this is where we start. I think we have to take the action. So as soon as you're through Castellina, now your attention changes, and this is where all the action is. I think here's the opportunity to say, if we're going to reduce the speed, and I'm going to propose that for this section of the roadway, and it's going to be a limited section, this is where we have our first communication, because drivers are looking their heads up and starting to look down the road, that's a 30-mile-an-hour sign, and we start there. First notification. The first notification in the sign is the most important one, because all of a sudden we're confronted with a new situation and a recognition that we're going to have a speed sign there, because until this time we're really not getting one. You want to proceed down? We're going way slower than we're actually traveling. Okay. Okay, here's the next one. Just go a little bit further, because I'm also trying not to have some kind of a visual impact on the views here. So if you stop there, Ramsey, the second 30-mile-an-hour sign either goes where that taller tree is or where there's 3 smaller trees. So we're not blocking views there, but that's the second notification that we're reducing speed. Okay, Ramsey, can you take us around the bend? And I'm not going to do this for going up and down the whole switchbacks. This is just for this particular area here. Little further. This is where we're coming into, I don't know the exact location of the proposed speed warning. Have we determined that yet? Or we have a general area? I know it's around here somewhere that would be proposed, correct?
Yes, we've determined a preliminary location, but we'll have a licensed traffic engineer finalize the locations in accordance with the traffic manual.
Okay, so the third 30-mile-an-hour speed sign plus that flashback on what your actual speed is, which should be together, just like it is on Merrill S. Drive. That's the third time we're communicating that we're in a slower speed zone, and that I think we can have an impact. So then going around the bend towards actually Granada, there's one more sign I think we need to add. And I don't know the exact language, but it's something of a warning or an intersection or a hidden intersection. And the proper words for that I'm not sure of. But to, again, reinforce the fact that there's a dangerous intersection without using the word dangerous. So again, it gets attention. So we take the speed down from probably a quarter mile up as soon as our focus is changed, and we consistently sending that message going into Granado. So that's the upper part there. I think on the downward side from that point, we maintain the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit until we come out of the last switchback. And it's right, left, right. And then when we sort of come back into the final stretch going down, heading towards PV Drive East, we just reduced that to 35 miles an hour. Okay, now I'm going to come up the hill. On the upward northbound, I think a reduction to 35 miles an hour is adequate the entire length of the roadway. I've done this drive experimenting like Councilmember Ferraro here, just trying it out, testing it out, even though she's lived here for 40 years. She's consciously trying to simulate different situations. Because coming out of there, I've noticed that at least, and again, we're just data points, we're just our own examples, is when you're coming out, if you go 35 miles an hour and it's posted opposite Granado 3 or 4 times between that point and the Crest Road. So that's already in place there. I don't see a change there. I just see a reduction coming in an initial part of 40 gain reduced to 35, telling drivers that that's our starting point. It will also help with the added enforcement to have a baseline for the sheriff to be effective. Getting the speed limit down selectively 30 and 35 miles an hour. So that's where I'm coming from on the speed recommendation. And the basis for this is if we go out here at Hawthorne Boulevard and we cross Crest Road, southbound towards City Hall, you'll see flashing signs telling you your speed limit, and you'll see a posted speed limit, and that posted speed limit's 30 miles an hour. That road on Hawthorne is a 4-lane, better infrastructure road, divided street, divided median, and a gentler curve than we have at PV Drive East. So I think we can make the case that we're already doing that type of enforcement on a road that is more able to handle speed. And I know myself, every time I get into that location on the way home here, I'll be surprised by my speed. So it jolts me. It jolts me for how much I'm going to reduce my speed each time. So I think this is a less dramatic reduction, actually, of the speed that my viewpoint is right now. The other things are, I think we need to measure our results. And it needs to be starting within a 6-month implementation plan, not waiting around for a longer time. The signage, the flashbacks on speed, whatever we can do near term, we do as soon as possible, and we start measuring as a bench line. And in the future, we need to have a better data collection so we can have this discussion with more of a background. Because if this has been this way since 2014, and we don't have all the available data on the most dangerous spots in the city, we need to start collecting that data, and both from the city and from the sheriff's office. And with that, I have lots more on how I got here on that, but I wanted to just make my point and go from there. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Parasam. Councilmember Lewis, do you have any liberation statements or ideas?
Yeah, I know we're running long, so I'll be very brief, and then I'm actually prepared to make a motion to move this forward. I'll stay under 2 minutes, but I'll file this under the category of you think you want to be on city council, right? So we opened today's meeting with an unhappy resident lambasting me personally for suggesting that we should at least think about spending the last of our reserve dollars on situations that were affecting that person. And then we've heard from a lot of people here who are looking for more funding to support more sheriff's activities in their area. And I'm quite confident in the next 20 meetings, we're going to hear from a lot of constituents who are anxious for us to spend money on situations affecting them. And so, yeah, it's a hard problem. We're in an environment now where costs are rising at a faster rate than revenue is for the city. And so for all my colleagues, I say we need to be thoughtful in our decisions, that we spend our money in ways that benefit all the citizens of the city. That said, I also want to at least throw a vote of support for the captain. I'm glad she said it, because if she didn't, I would have, that the Sheriff's Department has not failed us at all in this city. I challenge that notion categorically. One of the joys of Rancho Palos Verdes, I think of the 700 and change municipalities in California, we're in the top 15 in low crime. So yes, with respect to this traffic measure, which I think the group here is going to see, I'm highly supportive of their views of. I think this is a tweak in the sheriff's service, and we've really already covered that. But I'd like to at least congratulate the Sheriff's Department for their excellent job at keeping crime low in the city, which is important to all of us. That said, I'm prepared to make a motion, but I realize there's a couple other members that might have comments for deliberation.
Yeah, just really quickly. I think Mayor Bradley hit it on the head when it came to, this is pretty simple, and it's a matter of enforcement, ultimately. Because the people who are driving, so what we're dealing with is bad actors. We're not dealing with the people who drive well and see the stop signs and 30-mile, 35-mile, and 40-mile signs. They see them and they're driving safely. It's the folks that are the bad actors, the ones that are doing the drifting, the racing, and the drag racing, and what have you. And the issue is enforcement, ultimately, right? So if we put up signs that are 35 miles as opposed to 30 miles, it's not going to really matter because they don't look at them anyway, right? So my thing is this. Ideally, what I like to see, and I echo all my colleagues' statements, what I like to see is a 30-day plan from you guys, from staff and Kevin Guerrero in regards to the metrics. So come back in 30 days to see how many stops you made, when those stops were made, who was there, the type of stops that were made, hours and whatnot, so we can actually track it and see what progress we're making. Because if we need to make a determination because there's an increase in racing or whatnot, if we need to start pushing resources to traffic stops, then we have to make that decision as well. Because right now, the sheriff's department they are stretched in, and they have to make a decision whether they're going to be going after residential burglaries and violent crimes as opposed to traffic stops. And that's something, you know, in an ideal world, I would love to park somebody there and watch the whole time and give tickets and whatnot, but that's not realistic, right? And we don't have the budget for it. So what I like to do is, based on the recommended council action, I'd like to leave the speed limit alone because I believe it's an enforcement issue. And then instead of number 7, which is a 1-year after action review, I want to bring it back in 30 days so we can make speedy decisions on what we need to do and actually make a difference in that area. Because I know for a fact that area is ripe with racing. I've seen it myself. I've almost been in an accident myself driving in a minivan. And I was driving in a minivan for crying out loud. So I understand. So at this point, if everybody is done speaking, deliberating, I'd like to make a motion. And the motion will be striking item number 1, leaving 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then instead of 1 year, I would like to make that 30 days with the metrics behind it.
I'd second that.
Want to make it 30 or 60?
30.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So the intention here is to revisit the speed limit after we see what the enforcement efforts do? Because I think there's
Yeah, I'd like
sentiments here to actually lower the speed limit.
Yeah, I'd like to see where we're at and what like the metrics behind it. Because if we're making those stops and things are dying down, then obviously our enforcement is working, right? So I just don't want to drastically do and change things that we don't have to change at this point. If we can just do it through enforcement, because I think that's the main issue. So I'd like to see it quickly rather than the 60 or 90-day time window.
Okay, and what we could do is, over a 30-day period, probably for starting this weekend, extending into most of June, and then come back in July with that report. So, because we'll have to tabulate all that information then.
Yeah, so the implicit request would be for you guys to come up with a plan to start implementing right away, to start enforcing, and having, if we can get a motor deputy there within the sheriff's department to tweak his schedule and whatnot, or putting cars out there, I'd rather have that now than later.
Sure.
So I think the 30-day is appropriateness.
And Mayor Pro Tem, we could also, there's the council subcommittee, the public safety subcommittee, which is comprised of yourself and Councilmember Parasem. So we can coordinate with the subcommittee on the strategies and the enforcement plan and bring that all back to the entire council.
Please.
Just a final comment, say that I think we need, we've seen historically changes in speed limits. We've seen changes in enforcement. We know that it's difficult to sustain enforcement at the level that we're asking for. And I have no arguments with anything that's been said about enforcement, none whatsoever. We have to have it. That's a primary factor to being successful here. I just think it's very hard over the long run to sustain that. And because of our financial situation, the city manager said we need to address it and get more attention there. I agree with that as well. I just believe we need to take some kind of an action to change what's going on there right now as a result of the last few years. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just a little bit pushback on that. I think it's not that it's 35, 30, or 40 miles per hour. It's the culture and the reputation that that area has now. So if the enforcement is not there and we don't have the presence there, then it gets out to everybody saying, hey, you guys can come and race here or do the laps that you want to and nobody touches you. And I think culturally and reputationally, we need to change that. And I think if that gets out within the next month, I think it'll check some of the appetite for some of these bad actors that we have. And we're cursed with these roads that are bumpy and wiggly and the topography. And, you know, we get pushback from cyclists and motorcyclists all the time. So, but I just want to make sure that when we do that, we do it correctly and quickly. And then if we need to down the road, we need to adjust the speed limit. I think that we go down that path. But for now, that's what I'd like to see. So I'd renew my motion on the table.
Can we, as a friendly amendment then, I think some of us would like to have a vote on the speed limit. Maybe if it's not today, it would be 60 days from now, but can we have that vote be scheduled as part of this motion today?
So Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, your motion is on the floor appropriately. If Councilmember Lewis has his own motion, you're free to make your own motion. If it gets seconded, then we'll debate the motions and vote on them in the order that they've been made.
I'll take the friendly amendment to the motion and I'll renew the motion for a second with Councilmember Lewis's amendment.
I'll resecond the Mayor Pro Tem's motion.
And what is his?
So just to recap, it's to strike number 1, adopt number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is enforcement, and then 7 would be the 30-day return with the metrics, and then 8 would be to come back in 60 days to revisit the speed limit.
Okay.
Excuse me, yeah, that's correct. All right.
I don't.
I'm sorry, and just for clarity, the return in 60 days is the report on the metrics and all of the whole
To
package.
revisit the miles per hour.
Okay.
It is to hold a vote,
Okay.
to have a vote on reducing the speed limit.
No worries.
So we're going to collect, and I just want to be crystal clear so we know what to do. We're going to collect data for the next 30 days and then come back in July
With the report.
with the report on the data and then
Right.
come back another 30 days later with a
And-
report on,
Correct.
okay,
If necessary.
Consider changing speed limits.
okay.
Yes.
Based on the data that's produced.
Roll call.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Peristam,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Seo,
Yes.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next agenda item, please.
With that, we can move to item number 2. Consideration to amend Chapter 5.28, vending on public property of the Rancho Palos Verdes Municipal Code for consistency with the Safe Sidewalk Vending Act, SB 946. Late correspondence was distributed earlier, and I do not have any requests to speak.
Thank you. Staff report.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we have James Zorn, our Code Enforcement Officer, and he's going to be providing this report.
Just to only take 15 minutes.
Hello, good evening. Okay, so we have our 2025 sidewalk vending ordinance code amendments. Recent California legislation, including Senate Bill 946 and Senate Bill 972, aim to decriminalize certain forms of sidewalk and roadside food vending, creating avenues for vendors to operate legally and safely. Cities may limit hours of operation, prohibit sidewalk vending in residential zones, require a permit or license, require vendors to comply with Americans with Disabilities Act, request business's name, address, and type of sales. Cities may not restrict the number of sidewalk vendors, prohibit sidewalk vendors from operating in public parks, require vendors to ask permission from businesses or anybody else besides the city, require sidewalk vendors to operate in a specific area besides residential zones, unless the restriction is directly related to objective health, safety, or welfare concerns. Okay, so the 5.28.010 purpose and findings. The proposed amendments include a findings section which better explains the scope and intent of the sidewalk vendor ordinance, including but not limited to preservation of public right-of-way to facilitate pedestrian travel next to schools, places of worship, and public transit facilities. The findings section also includes provisions to limit obstacles in the public right-of-way to safeguard accessibility standards for disabled persons. The findings section sets forth limitations on street vending around public parks, which generally located in residential areas and not considered commercial areas. 5.28.030 definitions. New definitions have been added which expand the current list of definitions to include but not limited to the location and placement, farmers markets, and swap meets per government code sections. The definition of public property has also been expanded to include rails, trailheads, and parking lots as real property owned or controlled by the city or other public agency and subject to provisions of the street vending ordinance. 5.28.070 vendor operational requirements. The proposed amendments expand upon existing vendor operational requirements to be clearer and easier to understand. Updated operational requirements include, but are not limited to, clarifications to operational hours, noise, location, and safety standards. Section 5.28.080 violations. The proposed amendments to the violations section include updates to better address how violations of the code are managed, including but not limited to clarifications on suspension of vendor permits for non-compliance. Benefits of proposed code amendments. Staff will be able to better address how violations of the chapter are managed. Staff will be better able to regulate vendors. Potential new vendors will now have more information on our vending program. Next steps. If council adopts the ordinance this evening, the second reading of the ordinance is scheduled for June 3rd. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends the city council introduce ordinance number, an ordinance of the city of Rancho Palos Verdes amending sections 5.28.010 purpose, 5.28.030 definitions, 5.28.070 vendor operational requirements, and 5.28.080 violations of chapter 5.28 vending on public property of Title V, business taxes, licenses, and regulations of the Rancho Palos Verdes Municipal Code to update sidewalk vending requirements for consistency with Senate Bill number 946. And is there any questions regarding these updates?
Any questions, guys?
Yeah, very quickly.
Councilmember
Just
Lewis.
as a point of legal procedure, we're voting to accept these changes, and then is there a public comment period, or what's the?
There is a regular public comment period. It doesn't require a public hearing. An ordinance goes through 2 readings. This is your first reading tonight. If you introduce the ordinance, it will come back at the next council meeting for formal adoption. It then goes into effect 30 days thereafter, unless it's an urgency ordinance, which it is not. Within that 30 days, if somebody's unhappy with it, they can try to referend it. But it's a 2-step process. So all you're doing tonight is introducing the ordinance, and it will come back again. So the public will have another opportunity to comment on it if there is an interest in doing that, which doesn't appear to be present right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of red lines in here, and I just want to make sure the public had an opportunity to comment. And so it sounds good. Thank you.
Mayor Bradley?
Mayor Bradley had to drop off.
Oh, you drop off, okay. Councilmember Farrar? Questions?
Well, I'll move approval.
Can I get a second?
Moving introduction, please.
moving the introduction of, and then you know the number.
I do. Ordinance number 690. And forgive me, who was the seconder? Thank you.
I resecond.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Peristam,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seo.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you. With that, we
Next
can-
agenda item?
With that, we can move to our future agenda items.
Anyone have any future agenda items? No, nope,
Nope.
nope, okay. Moving on to city council oral reports. Oral reports, pass? Pass. I don't have anything either. I will adjourn this meeting at 9:57.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.